Wow. Steve Jobs. Is there anyone who doesn't know who Steve Jobs? If you have an iPod, a computer, right? You should know who Steve Jobs is. A college dropout. Not exactly, we're going to talk about it. Creative entrepreneur in the high-tech business whose passion for perfection and ferocious drive revolutionized 6 industries: personal computers, animated movies, music, phones, tablet computing, and digital publishing. When he died a few weeks ago, when they were writing his birth certificate, they did not know what kind of title to give him. Was he an engineer? Was he a computer scientist? What was he? Because you see, he didn't have a title from the university, so they don't know what to put down in his birth certificate. If you follow your heart, and we're going to talk about a little bit what we mean by heart. Do we mean this organ with the cells, or we mean something else? And what is it that we mean when we say heart? What is heart? We mean by saying heart. By following your heart, one day, if you do, people will not be able to define you and tell what you are. Because such a beauty is in us that you cannot even define it. So people had a problem to define what Steve Jobs was. Why? Because he loved what he did. And we're going to see why. There's a demonstration for that. Very clear. Thanasis Kaleris, who happens to be a personal friend of mine. He's Greek. He came from Greece. His family sent him to become a chemical engineer. This is the story I heard him from his lips. When he started being a chemical engineer, studying chemical engineer, calls his parents, says, I cannot do this. This is not for me. I want to do literature. I want to do poetry. I want to do these things. The message that he got was, we will cut you all the support. We send you to become this, not that. He says, that's okay. So he went and worked, and at the end, he became a very well-known poet, writer, author. In fact, 2 weeks from now, he's going to be giving a talk in Sacramento about the environmental sensitivities and the gospel of Nikos Kazantzakis. He established a chair for Nikos Kazantzakis at San Francisco State University. He's an emeritus professor now, comparative literature and philosophy. Now, I don't know if Christina came, but she said she's going to come a little bit later. But I have names here that they're not famous today. And they may never become famous. That's not what it counts. But this is a student who came to our gardens last year with tears in her eyes one day. And I noticed that, but I didn't say anything. And after 2-3 weeks, he came back and there were tears in her eyes again. But her face was glowing. She was happy after 3 weeks. So I asked her, what's the matter? And she said, I was to become a vet. I was going to study veterinary school, and I had an interview with the dean or whatever. And I said, I will do this. I can do this. Are you sure? Yes, I can do. But then I thought about this. I really cannot do this because the things that I believe, they will not help me to do it. And I cried, and eventually I called my parents, and the decision was made, I'm going to go to agriculture. Just 2 weeks ago, she was in the gardens, and her face was glowing. As she was sitting there and the other students were sitting around, I asked, Christina, nice to see you. How things are going? And she said one word, amazing. And I said, tell us, what happened? So she was giving witness to what happened after she started following her heart. It was 1 week ago, the previous Saturday, in the gardens. Right here, the gardens are right there. 10 minutes walking from here. Your teacher has a similar example. He was a research chemist for many years. He knew he likes to she was wasting his life to go to the age of 55 or whatever, 50 years old, to really do it full time, all his heart. Just give all his heart for her. Why? We can talk about it much because that's me. So I can tell you a lot of things about this. You can ask any questions you want. Einstein, he was a patent secretary for 7 years, copying things for patents. Who a high school student can do that. And nobody would offer him a professorship in a university. You should read his autobiography. What happened? One of his friend's father was trying to make him to get him a job, a university faculty job, because his friend had a job as a professor at the university, his friend, and the father of his friend was trying to see Einstein being a professor, but they couldn't do it. They could not be convinced. So he was a secretary for 7 years. And what was he doing? When he was going home, he was doing exactly what he had in his heart. He loved to do calculations and try to understand the universe. He was doing his hobby. And what happened? You know the rest of the story. Nobel Prize for the photoelectric effect and the name that he has. He never did it for glamour or fame or to secure a position at the university or for any other reason. He just did it, and if you would ask him why are you doing it, he would say, I don't know. Go to a sandbox tomorrow where the children play and ask them, why are you playing? What are they going to tell you? I don't know. That's what they will tell you. And this is the way that you should be going out there to work tomorrow after 2, 3, 4, 5 years from today. When somebody else is going to ask you, why do you do this job? I don't know. Ask the river why it's flowing down towards the ocean. What is going to answer to you? That's the way things are. Hermann Hesse, 1877, 1962, was a German-Swiss poet, novelist, and painter. In 1946, he received the Nobel Prize in Literature. His best-known works include Siddhartha. And a point should be made in this case here. We hear the good things about people that have become very famous. There's Christina, who we're just talking about you. And a student of mine gave me a book by him, Siddhartha was called, a few days ago, and I came to know this person. Okay, he had the Nobel Prize of Literature in 1946. Everything sounds good when you read the summary of his biography. But when you go and you look into his life, how his life started, it's incredible. Anyone would say there is just no way this person is going to do any good in the future. He showed signs of serious depression as early as first grade. He fled from the seminary. I underline things from his biography. I underline things. Experienced intense conflicts with his parents. Attempt at suicide. Placed in a mental institution. Took up drinking and smoking. Began a bookshop apprenticeship. But after a few days he left. 14-month mechanic apprenticeship at a clock tower factory in some city. The monotony of soldering and filing work made him resolve to turn himself toward more spiritual activities. A new apprenticeship with a bookseller. This experience from his youth he returns to later in his novel. You can see a very dark childhood. And experiences of that dark period of his life, they were the diamonds of his poetry and work that he did to earn the Nobel Prize of Literature in 1946. The flowers come out of manure. the better manure you put, manure, it doesn't smell good, it stinks. The better manure you put, the most beautiful flowers you get, stronger and beautiful flowers you get. I will continue with him. Began working with a bookshop, which had a specialized collection in theology, philosophy, and law. Spent his long idle Sundays with books rather than friends. You see how he changes as you go on, how his life is changing? Both works were a business failure. In 2 years, only 54 of the 600 printed copies of romantic songs were sold. And 1 hour after midnight, received only one printing and sold sluggishly. Furthermore, Hess suffered a great shock when his mother disapproved of romantic songs on the grounds that they were too secular and even vitally sinful. Nerve disorders and persistent headaches affected his entire life. What does it tell us? It's all excuses. I'm sick. I have this problem with my health. There is no way I can succeed. Who said that? What does this tell us? Began working at the Antiquarium Godinel in Basel. Released poems and small literary texts to journals. These publications now provided honorariums. We start having some money to buy food. Interest in Buddhism was resparked. Any spiritual or religious inspiration that he was looking for eluded him, but the journey made a strong impression on his literary work to different islands like Sri Lanka and Indonesia. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1946. This is a beautiful example. And there are thousands upon thousands of these examples that young people that they are absolutely destructive to themselves and to other people in fights even with their parents. We inherit all this negativity. And look, slowly and sluggishly, eventually, where this person reached the peak. And that's, there's so many people that we don't know, and we'll never know, that they live all this life of theirs on this earth with a smile on their face every day because they love what they do, and they do what they love.